What does it do, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Scotty Says. I am your host, and welcome to episode 94. And I thought I'd drop a quick one, because even though the Rams McBlundered their way out of the postseason one and done playoffs, it doesn't mean that I can't at least give you an update as the playoffs wind their way towards the big game, the Super Bowl. And I do have exciting news to share. So let's start right there, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, I am happy, pleased, proud to announce I have now been decreed an expert. Yep, that's right. That's right. Now, I too am one of the experts. Yes, well, a self-proclaimed expert. That may be true, but that's just about as good as any of the other experts out there. I do my research, my folks. I pay attention. I watch the games that I speak about in their entirety. That puts me ahead of a lot of the experts right there. And with the assortment of characters, you've got the Muppet and Sniff, you've got Noodles the Beak and Shrieking Duck, the Cowardly Lion, you've got all sorts of experts running around, and they're on their various platforms and they're parroting the same lines. You need a fresh expert. You need an original expert. You need an expert that's real about it. Okay? And so, I was thinking, my folks, you know, if you drill down, if you dig deep down into it, just about everything in society, at its core, there is a hoax or a hustle. One or the other now. Ho, H-O-H. There's ho all in it. Hoax or hustle. And sometimes it's both. And I was thinking about this as it relates to the experts, you see, because, well, these experts, and I'm not talking about the ballers. I'm absolving the ballers, the ex-athletes who actually played the game. I'm absolving them from this conversation because they have a level of experience and expertise that has its unique value. So, I'm specifically speaking here about the others, the people like me, who maybe they played high school ball, or maybe they never played, maybe in the case of many of them, they just always had a deep love for the game. For whatever reason, whichever game, whatever athlete inspired them. And so that childhood love burned so deeply in them that they figured out a way to make in many cases, a very handsome living just focusing on their childhood passion. Like them Cowboys, for example. Just obsessively focusing on that and making a handsome living. Sniff does it every day. Expert? Okay. And I don't mean to take away any journalistic merit that these individuals may have, whether they've written articles or whether they've been broadcast journalists or whether maybe they went to school for journalism, maybe they've been podcasters, radio hosts, various types. And here's my point. This year's NFL playoffs, there have been 10 playoff games, 10 postseason games. And my record of calling them, and it's all on videotape now. I'm not altering the past. Revisionist history. No, I've been calling these ahead of time, and I'll give you my picks for the upcoming weekend's games. But my record over the first 10 games of these playoffs is 8-2. That's pretty good. I'll bet you I've got the vast majority of the recognized experts beat. I bet I do. And so 8-2, that's pretty good. I was thinking, I've been pretty anti-gambling, for a long time. But I was thinking, when the Powerball and those lotteries get up high and they're $1 billion, I go and I spend $10 and burn $10 up and light it on fire and burn it up at the store on those Powerball tickets. I do it. It's not a lot. I've gotten a scratcher here or there, so technically that's gambling. And I guess the reason I thought about it is that, well, if I can go 8-2, 80% success ratio picking these games, why, maybe I need to start putting a little change down on something. I don't know. And it's just crossing my mind. But the only two I missed, my folks, the only two games that I didn't call correctly, them damn Cowboys, how about them? And I was rooting against my pick because I said the Cowboys were fraudulent time and episode again. And I said they will fall and I said they will fold. And I even didn't anticipate the magnitude of it and how quickly it would happen. So I thought they could get past Green Bay. That's on me. I knew they were going to fold, and I knew they were fraudulent, and yet I gave them the benefit of the doubt. That was the one and the only other game I missed. The other one, McWonder and them. And I had deep misgivings about picking them, my folks. You know that I did. Oh, I grappled with it because I knew in the end it was coming down to a heart pick. Because in my head, where I picked all the others, I foresaw, and I foretold what would happen. That McBlunders, that McSquanders, that mistakes in play calling and personnel would doom the Rams in the postseason against a quality team. How many times did I tell you this? This was before I was even an expert. And that's exactly what happened. And so those were the only two games I missed. And I had deep misgivings about the one for one reason and the other for the other reason. And so, hey, I'll take 80% and stack it up against these other experts. Yes, indeed, I will. Muppet in them. And so anyway, I've definitely gone on long enough there, and I want to get to the meat of it. And so that is the upcoming games. Well, I called all these games. I was 4-0, as I mentioned, this week. 4-2 the first week, 4-0 this week. And let's look just briefly at what transpired. Okay, now, let's start with Green Bay and them damn Niners. Okay, now, the first thing that came to my mind was, you see what I was telling you about playing Debo against the Rams? Don't you think he could have used the extra time off, Father, that you gave to Purdy? Purdy could have used the work, Father. Look how Purdy is. Purdy looking a little shaky. You know, like the knees are starting to wobble a little bit. Thank you very much. And then Debo, right out the gate, first drive of the game, pop, boom, bow, down and out. Hurt. And how far can you hope to go with no Debo? Bob, do you see the error in your judgment playing Debo against the Rams? And the same thing goes for Trent Williams too, to be perfectly honest with you. And yet, despite the loss of Debo, you managed to pull that game out, but Green Bay gave you a good fight, you know. And I want to say this about Green Bay. Okay? Now, everybody, all season long, you heard them. Well, once they came out of the bye, because, you know, at 3-6, you didn't hear, or it was crickets. But once they started winning out of the bye, everybody was acknowledging the genius of McWonder. Oh, well, you heard it over and over. It was his finest coaching performance ever. This is what they kept saying now. Coach of the Year candidate. And all season long, I kept bringing you episode after episode with the data. I had to start creating a McBlunder spotlight report each week. This is your coach of the year. This is your king. And yet, as the Rams continued to win, the drumbeat continued to pound. And during all that, you never once heard anything about Matt LaFleur, did you? No, not even when LaFleur whooped the Rams and defeated McWonder. In which case, that is the McBlunder that will live in infamy in my mind. There's a couple or three of them that stand out above all the others. But that Green Bay game, 4th and inches, driving to put the first points on the board, and you call 4th and inches, you call a jet sweep for Tony, loss of 6 on the play. This is your king? And even when LaFleur whooped McGenius, no one said a word about Matt LaFleur. But look at the job LaFleur has done with a young quarterback. And I'll tell you what he didn't. Jordan Love did not look good against the Rams when they played. But something shortly thereafter clicked. The switch flipped and Jordan Love went on a whole other trajectory. And look at the job LaFleur did, getting them into the playoffs, and then to whoop them damn Cowboys, hog-tied, lassoed, and roasted on a fire, them Cowboys. If there were a coach of the year candidate who was unheralded, it would be LaFleur, not McWonder. And so, big ups to Coach LaFleur and even his brother who play called for the Rams up in San Francisco. You know what? This is another thing I was thinking. They've been talking now. There's, the rumors. And that in Green Bay, they are considering taking away the play calling responsibilities from LaFleur. What? I thought LaFleur did a great job play calling, especially in that damn Cowboy game. But LaFleur, he's an offensive-minded coach. That's his side of the ball. Play calling is his thing. They're talking about taking it away from him. Wow, and I started thinking, who could go to McWonder and say, you have McBlundered for the last time, coach. We are going to strip away your play calling duties. Next season, LaFleur, Mike, here in LA will be the play caller. You focus on the overall team structure and leave the play calling to an offensive coordinator. Who in the Rams hierarchy could stand up to the king of the haunted palace? You think the Sneedster could do it? You think who? You know what they say? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. I imagine only Stan K can actually say, listen, come to my office, McG. I've been noticing that you make an inordinate amount of McBlunders every season, and I've been watching a YouTube channel, Scotty Says, I believe, and, well, I think it's best if you are stripped of your play-calling responsibilities. And we'll give it to the OC. I bet you if Mike LaFleur had called the plays in Detroit, the Rams would have won the game. It's hypothetical. I understand. I digress. Let's get back to the teams who are still in the tournament. And so, San Francisco does move on. And as I anticipated, they just had a little bit too much in the end for Green Bay. But San Francisco is vulnerable. And so now, San Francisco plays the Lions. Well, that Lions Tampa Bay game, again, I picked the Lions, but Tampa Bay put up a pretty decent fight. There were a couple of blunders I noticed on the coaching side of it there, but in the end, I just didn't really feel like Tampa had enough. And eventually, Detroit pulled away. The kneecap biter who out-coached McGenius. And so now, Detroit versus San Francisco in the Bay. And, well, listen, spoiler alert, and I've mentioned this before, but at the beginning of the season, I picked Baltimore and them damn Niners to be in the Super Bowl. And it looks very much like that is how it's going to turn out. Well, they're the betting favorites. So it's hard for me now to back off my original prediction when it's so close to coming into fruition. And I think Detroit has probably reached the point where the clock is about to strike midnight and they are about to be rolling through the streets in a pumpkin. Better get home, Detroit. Your ride is about to go through a metamorphosis. I do believe, but I'll tell you what, I don't like them damn Niners. Now, you know that from way back when, and so I'd like nothing better than to see the Hanahan take another whooping and have a L on his head. So again, sometimes I root against my own picks. I'll root for Detroit, but I am picking them damn Niners. And then in the AFC, well, listen, you've got to give big ups to the Houston Texans. And as I've said, DeMeco Ryans has got to be coach of the year in the NFL, the actual one. And this is coming from an expert now. And C.J. Stroud, unbelievable season for a rookie quarterback. Maybe the best rookie quarterback season ever. Maybe, well, I mean, I guess you have to think about Kurt Warner, who was he actually a rookie? Point being, this one was pretty special. And I expect that the indicators are all pointing straight up for the Houston Texans next season. But as I predicted, Baltimore just posed too much of a threat. Although it did take, I understand, Lamar the Magic Man having to throw around a lot of expletives and get off into their ass during the halftime. But Baltimore pulled it out, and so that sets up the other game of the weekend. Baltimore and KC. Now listen, let me say this. I picked KC, of course, you know this already, because I'm an expert. But I am super impressed with Patrick Mahomes. Okay? Patrick Mahomes, he is, the superlatives don't quite do him justice. 6 years the starting quarterback in KC, 6 years. Playoffs, championship game. 6 years, championship game. That's remarkable. I never really had any doubt his show would travel on the road up in Buffalo. And so, wide right, Buffalo, wide right. You know all about that. And so, man, Mahomes versus the Magic Man. KC versus Baltimore. Well, I guess you already know where I'm going to go here. I am sticking with my original prediction that Baltimore would win the Super Bowl. And I said that, I made that prediction when, after that whole ugly standoff where Lamar couldn't get a contract and the collusion, the NFL and how the other teams, remember, nobody wanted Lamar, the Magic Man, a unanimous MVP, still in his prime. No team would make him an offer. No one wants him. Is that not collusion? I mean, what is collusion if that's not? But once it was all over with, said and done, he had gotten his payments, he had gotten his paper, and he was locked and loaded and ready to go with the Ravens. I said, this dude is about to go win him a Super Bowl. Y'all messing with Lamar, the Magic Man. You better watch out now. Okay? And so I predict that is, in fact, exactly what's going to happen. And I like the Ravens, and I like OBJ. I hope he has a great next 2 games, and it looks like them Harbaugh brothers about to be once again on top of the coaching world. That's my prediction anyway, but I will say this, it would not shock me if Patrick Mahomes pulls miracles, pulls rabbits out of hats, and figures out a way. I believe it will be the game of the year. KC and Baltimore. I can't wait. And so there you have it, my folks. Just as the week is progressing, notes are coming across the wire. It looks like the Lions have picked up Zach Ertz. Now, how about that for a late season playoff pickup? Zach Ertz is just sitting around available. And the Lions, Laporta was already injured. Their backup tight end apparently had some type of injury. And so the rules allow them to bring on a talent like Zach Ertz. So Now you got Zach Ertz coming in with the Lions, and you got Debo 50-50 with them damn Niners. And I tell you what, once Purdy makes a mistake, he starts looking shell-shocked like Mr. Irrelevant for real, for real. So either of these games could go either way, and I expect they're gonna be good. And so I just, as I said, wanted to drop a quick one on you. I also, after the last epic episode last week, I want to remind you once again to please subscribe if you haven't already. And what I need from you, what I need you to do is throw me one of these. Throw me one. Okay, please like the video. I got more things cooking up in the lab. I'll be back at you soon enough, but until the next time, which won't be too long from this time, enjoy the games over the weekend. Scotty says, one love.